Let me find the most purest way to explain this. I am not here to raise nobody from the dead. I'm not here to be nobody's idol or they worship or be possessive over. So if I don't acknowledge you because you say hi to me in the restroom, you better respect the privacy and the honor of the fact that we in the restroom. And plus, I ain't clocked in at work, you know what I mean? So there's nothing mandatory that you need to dictate or anything or create no assumption because you're wrong about everything. So now if you're going ahead and placing these conditions upon a person and not respecting their privacy and things like that, imagine what the little things you're doing that people don't know about when you're manipulating the young people. You know what I mean? Because if you're trying to manipulate me for a fact, that's obviously that conditioning attitude and that type of behavior doesn't stop at my age limit. It goes all the way down to minors too as well. So now that's a problem now. You know what I mean? So all you gotta do is just see anybody's truth in themselves. You know what I mean? How come I'm not doing that to them? You know, how come I'm not setting these conditions because I'm saying hi to them, they don't respond back? Like, I respect their privacy, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? If it ain't about business, bro, you know what I mean? You don't need to say nothing, you know what I mean? So, look at it like this. That's how you see the truth in people. They try to come at you as their friend. They try to come at you like their comrade or whatever. You know what I mean? All you gotta do is see that, you know? And anytime anyone's trying to be possessed with somebody, they worshiping that person. Why are you worshiping another man for? You know what I mean? That's a big problem right there already in itself. You know what I mean? I'm not here to raise nobody from the dead, but people that care about me do. They into that. They into dragging people down where they belong. You know what I mean? So all I gotta do is get out the way for this nonsense, you know what I mean? But if you don't get it, you know, people are raising their hand already and going, what? What's going on, Pedro? Let me know. Tata Mona. Let me know what's happening over there that we don't like. You know what I mean? So, you know, that's all you gotta do is just see the truth in people. You know what I mean? Because they'll display it to you without no problem. You know what I mean? You know, then they'll create assumption like, oh, you got a bad attitude, you got this and that. You know what I mean? Nah, you're just not respecting no one's privacy in a restroom setting. You know what I mean? And you're trying to dictate some type of response that you desire. You know what I mean? You know? So, if you're trying to manipulate that whole entire situation, did you think it stops at my age level? Nah, you playing with little kids, you're playing with all kinds of minors, you're manipulating your whole situation, whoever you can take advantage of. You know what I mean? Because that's all extremely manipulative, straight up, you know? So now, all you gotta do is just see it for what it is. You know what I mean? And I was right from the get. You know what I mean? For real, man, I'm not here to raise nobody from the dead, you know what I mean? They could be as dark and blind. I'm not here to babysit nobody, you know what I mean? You know, there was a particular woman that tried to come across me and say, oh, how come you didn't say hi to me? I yelled your name, Rico Waikiki. You know what I mean? Ain't nobody paying attention to you. You know what I mean? You know, first of all the examples that you showed me already proved to me to stay away from you. So now you don't get what you want. And now, oh, that was another problem. She goes, oh, what's going on? What happened? It seems like you're angry with me. Not angry with you. I treated you the same way from the beginning. What? Strictly business. You know what I mean? Because you're showing too many examples that you want to violate, you know what I mean, a person's space. You want to introduce yourself to somebody that you don't really know and it's not really business related. You know what I mean? So, you know, how do you know that I ain't got like 10 women just ready to be armed up and possessive, got money out of control? You know what I mean? And they don't care. They just like, you know what I mean? Oh, really? She wants to do that to you? She wants to say that? Let me know. You know what I mean? You know, we'll put her in the cave legally. You know what I mean? Because we got power like that. So, I'm not here to save you guys. But please, do not show me your true self because I really do protect the innocent oppressed for life. I care less about what this little petty money's bringing. You know what I mean? You know? Why would a person, you know, like a federal marshal, first of all, choose a stranger over 6 to 8 months and say, you know what? Out of my kids and everybody I trust, and we in the business of protecting judges, why would I choose you, Rico, to be the power of attorney for my property and medical decisions? You know what I mean? you know. And at that time, I wasn't no perfect person in terms of like worshiping anyone or trying to bring people to God or anything like that. I was just very selfless and genuine and honest, you know, worshiping nobody, no idolatry, you know what I mean? No material like overwhelm in terms of desires. And she still chose me. For what? Because she saw it in my nature at the place that I was renting at going, who is that person? And she didn't be possessive. She saw that somebody could be a guarantee for her. I said, look, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a land owner. I'm not a contractor. But I can help you with your resources and master everything that you need to do. So that way you could go ahead and get the best quality service, whether it's in a hospital situation or it's your land. And boom, I started managing her property. Now she turns to the point where my kids just want me dead. I said, I need to turn this camera on. You know what I mean? Is it cool if I turn the camera on? Because, you know, you can say anything. You got power, man. You protect judges. I go, can we bring those federal marshal females in the fold when you start discussing all these things like that? She said, you know, Rico, that's why I chose you, because I respect you even more for even being that way with me. I said, well, I got to protect myself because I can help you, but I'm not interested in gossip or slander. You know what I mean? People in this court system believe in that type of stuff. You know what I mean? So why would I put myself in jeopardy over material or a monetary or any type of, when I could be falling into a trap? She goes, see, that's why I like that. That's why I need you, because you think that way, and that's how we think. You know what I mean? Like even in our own business, yeah, we protect judges, but everyone's psychoanalysis on each other and building profiles and cases. I said cases. I go, yeah, because there's a lot of blackmail, this and that. There's a lot of, you know. I go, how would you force an honest verdict? Oh, we send emails to the circuit judge and all them so they know where we're at. And that way we force genuine justice upon the cases and situations, especially that we're involved in. You know what I mean? I go, why? Would they put someone away? You know, yes, they do that for whatever reasons. You know what I mean? So how would you force that? She goes, well, we get personal information on them as well. And everyone's doing it all on each other. So everyone's bodyguarding each other throughout this whole process. You know what I mean? And I go, wow, what a crazy environment. I said, man, I don't mean to be like that with you, but I'm just defense driving. She goes, no, that's what we do, but we do it to the extreme levels, you know? So I go, well, as long as you're smiling at work, man, you know what I mean? Don't internalize all that, because that could make you go crazy, you know? But like, look, so now that, you know, you're a power of attorney, right? You know, you don't go and just assume that this is all access to your money and materials and things like that and put anything. You put all expense accounts or everything on paper and dictate it toward, nothing goes towards your personal direction, all toward the estate and toward her life. Man, I mean, is 13 grand every 8 months enough? You know what I mean? And she wants to give more. You know what I mean? So, like, so you got to see people for what they are, right? So when they go ahead and try to pose these conditions on you, you don't be passive. You observe the situation, go, you know what, if you want to do that to me, imagine all the women and all the other kids and all the manipulated people, the humble people, the meek, the passive people that you're getting over on. You know what I mean? For no reason. You know what I mean? Because you don't want to respect no one's privacy. You don't want to, you know, honor yourself. You know what I mean? And then you want to make assumptions and try to make a claim because you want a rebuttal. And you ain't smart enough or wise enough. You know what I mean? To even try to challenge a person at my level. You know, in any form. Debate, spiritually, physically, don't matter. You already lost. You know what I mean? Because everything's up here in the heart that dictates who you truly are. And first of all, please call me out, anybody, where I've done that to anyone in my life. You know what I mean? To where I went ahead and demanded a certain response or demanded or dictate anything. You know what I mean? I'm the master at this because everyone done it toward me. But I'm not going to stop, you know, eliminating that situation from happening ever again, you know what I mean? And stuff like that, you know? That's not in my nature, you know? But then again, I ain't the one with the criminal record. You know what I mean? I ain't the one that's like, you know, being possessed and trying to worship other people and try to be, you know, demand or dictate of some form of response. That's all ignorant. You know what I mean? You know what you do? You gotta go like this. The law of average already dictates. You know what I mean? You stay genuine and real to yourself, the person will not change. Next you know, the person matai nai, on his own. You know what I mean? That's all that's about. Tata Mona for life. You know what I mean? First people.